the beauty of it is that you don't need a trusted third party to verify the transactions like you do with a bank, where, if I write you a check and I write somebody else a check, and I don't have enough money to cover it,
right,
whoever gets to the bank first and cashes it, they'll get the money. The second one will say, the bank will say, well, I'm sorry, there isn't enough money in the account.
Right.
So they are the trusted third party. Plus, they hold your money. Okay? And of course, financially, there's, in times of trouble, there's a downside with that. We've all seen bank runs
several times,
and in times of recession or even depression, right? Banks have closed, and so and we also have the problem of fractional reserve lending, where it means that the bank only holds a fraction of the amount of deposits and lends out the rest.
Now, I've heard the term fractional reserve lending, right? Because fractions are a very, very serious thing. What is the quote unquote common / legal ratio? Because in quote unquote crypto, a good exchange is 1-to-1. But we know that means it's whole. It's one. Right? When you talk about a fractional reserve, we're talking about a half, a quarter, a third, 1/6, 1/8.
So it went down to 10%, and then finally it went to 0. So you don't have to hold any of the money. But I'll tell you this:
legally, you don't have to hold any of the money.
Legally, that changed. I don't know, during COVID. And it went from 10% down to 5, down to 3, down to 1. And then finally, there was legally, you didn't have to hold any reserves whatsoever. And so here, I'll tell you where it came from.
Okay.
It came from the original banks, which were the Italians, the banchi, around 1600 or so.
Okay.
When they first set up.
The banking. What a good name.
Yeah. It means table.
Okay.
Because they used to set up tables where you'd come to borrow money.
Okay. The money changes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so what happened is that people would bring their gold, right? And say, I want you to hold this for me. I want to deposit this with you. And they found out, and then others would come and say, I need to borrow gold or whatever.
Yeah, I need to finance some voyage or whatever the case may be.
Exactly, right? And
they'll write you a debt and this is what you owe.
They check you out, and then accordingly they'd lend you. What they noticed was that the majority of the gold that they had, that they were holding for people, nobody was coming to claim it. No one was coming to say, I want my gold back because I have something to do with it, or So they were sitting on this big stockpile even after lending and whatever.
Right.
And they came up with the idea, well, instead of this money sitting here doing nothing,
we just let it
why
out.
don't we lend it out? Because ain't no one coming for it. Ain't no one asking for it.
Let's make money on this money that we don't own.
On other people's money.
Wow.
That's what fractional reserve lending means, because you lend out, you only hold a fraction of the reserves, and the rest you lend out. And it should be adjusted to where the bank doesn't run out of money if people come, not ever, but if people on average come and say, okay, I want to take my money out now because I have something else I want to do with it.
Correct.
It doesn't come to the point where, it should not come to the point where you say, well, hold on, I can't do that right now because we don't have no money in the bank. Everything's loaned out, right? Come back in 1 week and we'll have your money for you.
And this is the advantage of digital money, because now everything is available, because you could just put a code in and send digital currency and hopefully you pull it off some ATM or transfer to whatever.
Well, that's the question on, you don't have to have physical money anymore, but if your balance sheet doesn't have those digits on it, then you can become insolvent. And this is what happens when there's a bank run. If too many people come to get their money out all at the same time,
right,
the bank just doesn't have the money to give it to you.
And this happened back in 2008.
And this was
the crash happened.
It was starting to happen. And there was going to be a lot of banks that were going to be in trouble had the Fed not stepped in and bailed everyone out. And so...
I really despise Obama for that one.
Well, I mean, his hands were tied. I mean, what could he say? No? No, he can't say no. You know how many billionaires, trillionaires, gazillionaires you would have, you'd be in their bad books? No.
I mean, it wouldn't be worth a billion, a gazillion, a trillion anymore.
Look, there's... we live...
They would have been wiped out.
We live under this misconception that presidents and governments
run the show.
Run the show.
They don't.
They don't.
And this is becoming more and more evident, though.